In a world where superpowers move continents like pawns on a chessboard, one young African leader has dared to flip the board entirely. In Ouagadougou, under the blazing Sahel sun, Ibrahim Traoré, the 36-year-old captain who rose from the barracks to the presidency, just looked the world's most powerful nation in the eye and said no. The United States came with promises, with threats, with demands wrapped in the language of diplomacy. But Traoré's response was clear, sharp, and uncompromising. Burkina Faso is not for sale. Africa will decide its own future. Tonight, we dive into the untold story of how a young soldier is defying Washington, rewriting Africa's destiny, and leading a new alliance that could shatter centuries of foreign control. This is not just news. This is history in motion. This is the battle for Africa's soul. It began quietly. Whispers in Ouagadougou of a high-level U.S. delegation landing in West Africa. Officially, the trip was about strengthening ties and supporting security. But behind closed doors, the message was very different. The Americans wanted Traoré to cut ties with Russia, slow cooperation with China, distance Burkina Faso from the AES alliance with Mali and Niger, reopen certain trade channels that favored Western corporations. In exchange, promises of aid, promises of investments, and military cooperation. On the surface, it sounded generous. But to Traoré, this was an insult. For decades, African nations have been handed aid in one hand while the other hand robs them of resources, dignity, and sovereignty. He knew the price, submission. And so, when Washington's offer was placed before him, Traoré refused. Calmly, but firmly, "We are not your colony." Burkina Faso chooses its own partners, its own alliances, and its own destiny. The Americans didn't expect this. Most African leaders of the past would negotiate, stall, or bow. But Traoré did the unthinkable. He made the rejection public. In a fiery statement broadcast from Ouagadougou, Traoré declared, "No foreign power has the right to dictate who we trade with, who we ally with, or how we defend our land. Those days are over." Within hours, headlines across the world erupted. Burkina Faso defies U.S. Traoré challenges Washington. New African rebel or future Pan-African hero? In Washington, officials were stunned. In Paris, panic set in. France had already lost influence in Mali and Niger, and now Burkina Faso was slamming the door shut too. This was not just defiance. This was humiliation. For the West, the script was breaking. For Africa, a new chapter was beginning. But what makes Traoré different is not just what he rejects, it's what he builds. While Washington pressures him, Traoré is quietly laying the foundation for something revolutionary: agriculture independence. Massive projects to modernize farming, turning Burkina Faso from an importer of food to a breadbasket for the region. Energy sovereignty, solar fields, hydro dams, and plans for a West African energy grid under the EES alliance. Resource control, gold, uranium, manganese, for decades exported cheaply while profits flowed abroad. Now Burkina Faso demands a bigger share for its own people. Pan-African unity. With Niger and Mali, Traoré envisions an alliance that could grow into a Pan-African bloc capable of rivaling ECOWAS, even challenging the IMF and World Bank. He is not just saying no to the West. He is saying yes to Africa, yes to dignity, yes to independence, yes to a future where Africans are the masters of their own land. Crowds cheer his vision. Young people chant his name in Ouagadougou. Across Africa, his speeches go viral. Washington doesn't sit quietly. Immediately, U.S. media begins painting Traoré as a radical, a Russian puppet, even a threat to democracy. Think tanks publish papers warning that Burkina Faso is slipping into authoritarianism. Behind closed doors, discussions of sanctions begin. Threats of cutting aid, freezing assets, isolating the AES. France pushes even harder, lobbying Brussels and Washington to take tougher measures. But here's the paradox. The more the West pressures Traoré, the more popular he becomes, not just in Burkina Faso, but across Africa. Every insult from Washington is seen as proof that Traoré is fighting the right fight. In Ouagadougou, massive rallies break out. Tens of thousands pour into the streets with Burkinabe flags and AES banners. We are no longer slaves. We support Traoré. In Niamey and Bamako, the same chants echo, down with foreign domination. Long live AES. This is no longer one man's defiance. This is a people's revolution. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, from Lagos to Luanda, Africans see in Traore a mirror of their own struggle. They see courage, dignity, and the possibility of a new future. Analysts across the globe begin to admit the balance of power in Africa is shifting. The US is losing grip on West Africa. France is collapsing as its influence evaporates. Russia and China step in, but now not as masters, as partners negotiating with African nations that hold more leverage. The ES, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, begins talking of a common currency, of joint infrastructure, even of a united African defense pact. This is what Washington feared most, a united, independent Africa. An Africa that no longer begs, but bargains. An Africa that doesn't wait for instructions, but gives them. In a single generation, Africa has gone from submission to defiance. And at the heart of this transformation is Ibrahim Traoré. To some, he is reckless. To others, a hero. But one thing is certain. He has forced the world to listen. As night falls over Ouagadougou, the question remains, is this the birth of a new Africa, or the storm before the dawn? History will remember. The United States will remember. And Africa will never forget.
Welcome to African Spotlight 24, your premier source for news and current affairs from across the continent. We're glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and turn on notification to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis. Your support helps us reach more people. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information and is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. African Spotlight 24 does not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our goal is to deliver thoughtful insights, highlight local voices, and encourage informed conversations throughout Africa.